Hello, everyone. This is BL, and of course, Elena is here. Um, she'll get started here in just a moment with her meditation. I just want to remind you all, she packs an awful lot into these webinars, and so she does ask that you hold your questions until the end. And also, I want to let you know that this is going to be the last webinar for several months. Um, she's getting ready to do her presentation for the conference, and then we'll be traveling. So the next webinar is going to be the 29th of July. We'll post the information just like we always do, but I wanted you to be aware of that. Okay, Elena, over to you.
Thank you, BL. And I want to welcome everybody present for this webinar. And as usually, we're going to have a short alignment of the group field here. So everybody please relax, release all the lower tension and focus. And withdraw your attention from the lower sense perceptions and achieve stillness in the three lower fields of the personality: physical, emotional, mental. And then raise the consciousness into the head, carrying the consciousness upward through the astral body and the mind to the soul. Identify the personality consciousness with the soul consciousness and realize that they are one. Assume the attitude of the observer upon the mental plane and throw the soul energy down into the center at the base of the spine. And then raise the soul energy slowly via the centers in the spine and via the two centers in the head up into the soul body upon the higher mental levels. Recognize the personality is aligned with the soul, forming one unit. And there is a fusion of the individual soul with the group soul on the level of the soul on its own plane. Then link the heart center in the spine with the heart center upon the mental plane, where we find the response to group vibration. And feel the group love uniting all the members of the group into one unit. And we end by sounding the Om. Thank you. Now, the focal point of this webinar will be primarily entering of a period of crisis prior to the full moon in May 1936, and the cultivation of harmlessness as a constructive outcome of this crisis. But during the process of preparation, I have added to this some fundamental points of this instruction for January 1936, because I wanted to finalize this instruction due to the rather long break between this webinar and the next, that there should be a closing one area here of the whole instruction. So it will take maybe a little bit longer, this webinar. So in order to refresh our mind, we will going to read together the instruction which for January 1936, which BL would kindly put it on the screen.
You want me to make it smaller?
Yes, please. I mean, it has been recommended that it's a good idea to read this prior to attending to the webinar and little bit ponder. That's okay. Maybe if you can make it slightly bigger for the people, as long as it is readable on the screen. Okay, thank you. So here what the Master DK is saying. The same instructions, the same objectives, and the same necessity to cultivate the spirit of liberating love will suffice to occupy you during the next few months. You are now entering a period of crisis. Forget not that I have told you this and warned you to meet all circumstances in the light of that knowledge. The crisis, which may focus itself in some aspect of your personality, must be regarded by you as an indication of a strenuous effort on the part of your soul to bring about a large measure of liberation before the May full moon. Your soul is mobilizing its forces in order to effect this release and enable you to profit by the precipitating spiritual inflow. When such a determination exists on the plane of the soul experience, there is an inevitable reaction on the plane of daily life. For this, you must be prepared and be ready to profit by it. Your strength is far greater than you realize, because you have never yet drawn fully upon the resources of your soul. This you will have to do to gain the release for which you long. I tell you also assuredly that for you, the cultivation of harmlessness is the guarantee of a constructive outcome to your crisis this coming spring. In my last instruction, I urged you to eliminate self-pity, and this would then produce a harmless handling of the personality. The elimination of criticism will render you harmless where others are concerned, and the refusal to be suspicious will dispel your particular glamour, which amount almost to hallucination. So you see, my brother, that I am only re-emphasizing my earlier teaching to you. Of its value, I know you are assured, and in voicing the expression of your need, I am only voicing your own deepest wish. From May 1934 to May 1935, you made very real progress, and your inner spiritual strength was notably augmented. These past 6 months have marked an interlude wherein there has been a great deal of fluctuation. You have been more subject to external impression and less focused as a soul on the subtler planes. There has been no marked gain. Such interludes are inevitable. There is no cause for depression, provided they do not continue once you are aware of their existence. Now the sun is again moving northward, and there comes for you renewed opportunity and the possibility of a powerful period of release from your lower nature and from the claims which hold you so potently. My prime message to you is, and I give it with the earnest wish that you will understand to what specific factor I refer: let go, drop that which you hold, stand free at any cost, relinquishing that which holds you back. During the next 6 months, take the following words and thoughts as seed thoughts in meditation. First month, detachment from that which holds the self in chains. Second month, release of the imprisoned self for service. Third month, the burning ground whereon pure gold is seen. Fourth month, liberation of the inner light, and then the treading of the lighted way. Fifth month, radiance which evokes the light in others. 6 months, sacrifice which reveals the glory of the self. Be of good courage, my brother, and fear not. Fear itself creates a glamour, and the glamour hides the light. Love freely those you love. Okay. So, now BL will put up the quadra wheel for 11 December 1935. Thank you. So the crises which he was entering are indicated by the transiting Saturn moving and going over the ascendant and entering the 10th house, which is a Capricorn house. Okay. Which represents her immediate Dharma, the MC, of what the soul is telling her to do, as we read in the instruction. We are told that her soul is mobilizing its forces in order to bring about a large measure of liberation from glamour and emotional ties, particularly for this disciple. And if she cultivates the liberating love, or pure love, which is one of her keywords under the PCDP, pure love, this would release her for greater service and lead to closer alignment with the plan of the hierarchy for humanity. She is still under the influence of her recent Saturn return, second Saturn return, where the transiting Saturn made the last exact conjunction with its natal placement in the 4 Pisces 31 on this day, 11 December 1935. That's why I have selected this day and year. That this is, even it is the last contact, it is the influence of that Saturn energy is still powerful because it is going over that dharmic point into the 10th house, the Capricornian house. And it is, the Saturn is also reactivating its natal semi-square to the Sun on the 2nd of January 1936. So if you could bring the wheel for the 2nd January 1936. You see that Saturn is there at the 6 degrees 6, and her natal Sun is at 21 Aries 05. It means they are forming semi-square of 45-degree aspect there, which is a very, very important aspect because it is a natal reflecting the natal semi-square, okay? But now by transit of the Saturn. Now, if you put the wheel on the 3rd of January, just one day further, the progressing moon is going through the 7th house of relationships and personal and spiritual choices and decisions. It's a Libra house. And we find it at the 14 degree Capricorn 29. And it is making an exact contact by sesquiquadrate aspect with the natal Mars at 29 Taurus 29. Okay? This is a very important aspect from a number of perspectives. The 7th house is ruled by Capricorn. And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, where Mars has its exaltation and Moon, it has its detriment in Capricorn. So this brings into close relation the Moon, which for this disciple is veiled by Neptune, Mars and Saturn, and indicates a difficult test here. Moon, Mars, Saturn is not an easy combination of energies with a Neptune there. Mars, as a ruler of the testing sign Scorpio, is the dispositor of the natal Moon in Scorpio, involving relationship with others, including her children. The Moon is in a 5th house area which is dealing with children. Okay? And Saturn rules also the Capricorn 8th house. We have 2 houses ruled by the Capricorn, 7 and 8. And the 8th house is an area of relinquishment, detachment, and sacrifice. I am choosing these particular keywords for a good reason here. We note that detachment and sacrifice were among the seed thoughts which were given to her by DK to ponder in meditation, as we read in the instruction. And Mars rules the Scorpio 6th house of adjustment and area of criticism also. Is a Virgo house. An elimination of criticism would make her harmless through the right or soul relationships with others, particularly those close to her and those she loved. CDP as a soul has to relinquish the ties with other personal selves, the personality, and learn to know and meet them only on the plane of the soul. This was a major focal point in that incarnation. Her love for her children, friends, and those close to her is of great importance to her. But it holds not only her, but also them prisoners. That's why the emphasis on the 12th house and Pisces, with the Saturn in Pisces there. Prisoners in the lower worlds, and powerful 12th house. Okay? She has already gone through 3 incarnations of suffering and losing that what she cherished. And this is a 4th life of blind struggle, really, until she learns to love those she loves as souls, and realizes that to hold, she needs to detach. Detachment was her major keyword, standing in the CDP for D, detachment or dispassion. And to keep, she must release. And this will also releases her for the 2nd initiation, which was in front of her. And this is standing behind DK's words when he is telling her, my prime message to you is, and I give it with the earnest wish that you will understand to what specific factor I refer, because he is not saying it directly, but he wants her to know what he actually means. He is talking about. Let go, drop that which you hold, stands free at any cost, using the word relinquishing that which holds you back. Okay? So we are looking also at the astrological energies involving in this, and coming, establishing the specific factor here to what he was referring was holding her back. Now the planet Mars is in the 12th house of fear and issues of courage, attachment, liberation, and sacrifice. Again, I'm choosing those particular words for that house because there are many other. We know liberation and sacrifice were her meditative seed thoughts, and fear and courage reflect the last words to her by DK in this instruction, where he is telling her, be of good courage, my brother. And by the courage, he means the courage of the soul. and fear not. Fear itself creates a glamour, and glamour hides the light. Okay? All this is supported by the adjusting energy of the transiting Chiron, moving in 12 Gemini through the 12th house. In opposition to the transiting Jupiter in 12 Sagittarius. Through the 6th house. So 12 6 houses are emphasized. Okay? Jupiter is a second ray soul planet, and Chiron, you see, is trying to release that energy of the soul. It's a healer and adjusting energy. And the transiting North Node and Sun in the 12th Capricorn through the 7th house, these all through the 12 degrees activating the natal moon in 12 degrees Scorpio in the 5th house, which represents the 4th test of Scorpio, which is that of fear, or the first test of the astral body. It is the astral force, okay, and that fear of test. You see all this activation from a different planetary energies there, you know, to that very important moon with a test of fear. She was fearful for the children she loved. Moon in the 5th house. Okay? Now, could we put the wheel to the 22nd January 1936? Thank you. Now we see the transiting Saturn has reached the progressed Saturn in 8 degree Pisces there. You see? Progressed Saturn now. Okay? And is approaching also moon ascendant midpoint, which is lying at the 8 degree Virgo 23. You won't see it there. You need to first, I'm just, you know, it has to be calculated. It has to be found. But it is very important midpoint because it carries the ascendant soul purpose and the moon, which we have been just considering. And moon is also esoteric ruler of Virgo, veiling Neptune. Okay? Now the solar arc Saturn is conjunct the natal Neptune in 2 degree Taurus. Okay? The ruler of Pisces midheaven, Neptune. Pisces, which the transiting Saturn is approaching. Okay? Now the transiting moon, you see the 3 moons in that 7th house? Progressed, solar arc, and transiting. This is another purpose for me choosing that day, when these 3 moons are in that 7th house, emphasizing the focal point of that energies in that house of relationships, and also fusion of the soul and personality. And as we see, the transiting moon and the north node through the 7th house are also at 12 degree Capricorn, okay, activating the natal moon in 12 Scorpio. So you see the powerful activation of that moon, okay? And the transiting north node indicates that the direction of focus of her next step ahead is or are the relationships of others, okay? Now we will look at the full moon on the 7th February 1936, which happened at the time of 5:19 a.m. 5:19 a.m. Okay, where we see the full moon at 17, yes, at 17 degree Aquarius there, right? And this full moon fell on the progressed ascendant Uranus midpoint at 17 Leo 52. I have picked that midpoint to indicate that, you know, even this conjunction is not exact, but the midpoint with that full moon in February activates both Uranus and the progressed ascendant. This is a very important combination of energies where the Uranus is bringing the releasing energy, okay, of freedom, planet of change. And in relation to the progressed ascendant in Leo, you see, also change of identity, more focused in the soul, not only in her own soul, but in the souls of others, okay? We see the transiting Jupiter over the Sun-Earth, progressed Sun-Earth. You see, we have also a progression in her own chart there across Gemini Sagittarius at 18 degree 53, right? And also the transiting Jupiter is making a trine to the progressed ascendant in 18 Leo 55 within 2 minutes of arc. Okay? And Jupiter is, as I mentioned before, very important planet for her, second-ray soul planet. And transiting Mars in 18 degree Pisces, right up there, yeah, is squaring the progressed Sun also, another planet to the Sun. So Jupiter Mars transit activate the progressed Sun, okay, bringing this triangle of Mars, Sun, and Jupiter, you know, is a very positive combination of energies which are there for her to utilize with her process of dealing with the crisis and the glamour through harmlessness. Okay? We will come more into details with that later on. And the transiting node and Venus, which we already mentioned, you know, in 12-degree Capricorn, and transiting MC in 12 Scorpio now, because we have a correct time here, which makes the ascendants and midpole and MCs very important if they are activating a particular point in the chart. That's why the transiting midheaven in Scorpio is very important, because it is moving close to the moon there. Okay? As you don't have the G point, you have the G point there? You have.
I have it in her chart, but
yeah, because in my program here it's exactly in 12 Scorpio that MC, but it doesn't matter. Now, the activation here is primarily ascendant and midheaven from different directions, which bringing the focus on the soul's purpose and the Dharma, okay, with the opportunity of positive change, release and liberation, with the influence of Uranus strongly being there. And the activation of the natal moon bring the attention to the triangle of the powerful water signs present in her chart as primary energies behind her glamour of suspicion primarily. Because Neptune and Pluto are the primary energies conditioning the Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces triangle, the water signs. Okay? And the moon veiling Neptune in 12 Scorpio 21 carries also the midpoint of Neptune-Pluto, which falls at 12 Taurus 20 within 1 minute of arc, opposition to that moon. So this is a powerful combination of energies coming together through that moon, bringing that triangle of Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces together. It indicates here absence of mental perception, which creates a blindness or passive receptivity, opening a door to delusion of the astral plane. So wrong impression or hallucination, which is the word DK used to really emphasize this point, when he said that her glamour of suspicion amounts almost to hallucination. Okay? And suspicion is primarily related to Cancer and Scorpio, and Pisces, obviously, which were strongly influencing the life of this disciple. A Cancer ascendant with its rulers, Moon and Neptune, with the Moon in Scorpio and Neptune in Taurus, the major signs of desire as sources of glamour. And suspicion is linked to her powerful psychic nature and the strong six-ray influence, particularly with the six-ray brain, conditioned by the six-ray astral body, blinding her from recognizing the truth and to see things clearly. This was a major glamour standing in her way to the second initiation, okay, where a glamour and control of it is a major point. Okay? It indicates, you see, absence of mental perception here, which creates a blindness of passive receptivity, opening a door to delusion, a wrong impression or the hallucination in extreme. So the form of harmlessness would come through the power of mental identification with or fully understanding the person under suspicion. Her lack of discriminative mind and inferiority complex were further adding to the problem, you see. The activation of the moon is giving her the opportunity with all the positive energies we noted them there, to eliminate this glamour through a conscious work of contemplation, a meditative contemplation, a conscious focus on that, and obviously the development of discrimination. Okay? So could you now put the wheel on 22nd February 1936, and the time 12:43:37 p.m. 12:43:37 p.m. Thank you. Now, why I am bringing this exact time is that we have the transiting new moon in 2° Pisces 59. You see there? Activates the alignment between transiting Uranus, also at 2° there, Taurus, solar arc Saturn, 2° Taurus, and the natal Neptune, 2° Taurus. You see that powerful alignment through Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, a very powerful combination of energies created with a new moon falling at the same degree of 2° Pisces. Okay? It is also bringing into activation the solar arc Venus in 2° Leo, and solar arc ascendant at 2 Virgo. So you see another powerful alignment of energies, this time created through the new moon. It's initiating activity falling in the area of the higher mind here, a focus and use of that higher or abstract mind. Okay? Which would help her also with dissipation of the glamours and handling them through harmlessness. Transiting Saturn at 11 Pisces there, 37, is sextile the progressed midheaven at 11 Taurus 35 within 2 minutes of arc. That is the progressed Dharma falling in 11th house of the group process also, of her unrealized ideals, which is very much, she is very much focused in her ideals, but many of them she is not capable of realizing. And then come the, point of depression and thinking she has failed. And Master DK is continuously encouraging her and telling her, no, she did not. This is the self-depreciation, which is, related to that inferiority complex, and it's seen astrologically with the Chiron conjuncting her sun in Aries. The wound there on the identity, who I am not good enough. Okay? The transiting Saturn at that 11 Pisces also activates the nodal axis in 11 Cancer Capricorn across 1st and 7th houses. Okay? Very closely, within 3 minutes of arc, 11:34, 11:37. And it is semi-square the natal Chiron at 25 Taurus 37 exactly. Okay? So the energies which are activating, you see, the involvement also of the Chiron as the adjusting healing energy and indicating actually also the problem or the wound which need to be adjusted. Okay? And again we're coming back to the 7th house, 1-7 polarity. Okay? Which is a major focal point for this crisis. Okay? Now the solar arc Uranus, I am not saying it. I'm looking also at my own chart here.
There it is, 13 Libra.
Yes, 13 Libra 45, right?
Yes.
Makes an exact quincunx to the midheaven, MC, at 13 Pisces 45. Isn't that amazing? Uranus, very important planet of liberation, release, change, and also carrying strong first ray energy with it. Okay? Now the progressed moon in 16 Capricorn 7 makes an exact semi-square to the natal Jupiter at 1°07. You see how often we see also the Jupiter, a very important planet for her, carrying the second ray of love, wisdom, the love, particular love aspect for her of that second ray. Okay? Now, the transiting Jupiter now in 21 Sagittarius 03 is making a trine to the natal sun at 21 Aries 05 within 2 minutes of arc. Now this is the most positive combination of energies which we can find here to utilize in harmlessness. Standing as a soul, standing in the light of the soul. Okay? And using the soul energy of harmlessness. And the solar arc Jupiter at 28 Capricorn 58 activates the natal nodal axis in 28 Virgo Pisces 57 within 1 minute of arc across the 10 fourth axis, okay, which is home for her, particularly now, home area, the fourth house. And the home is also, we have a spiritual home, which is the ashram. Okay? We have a relationship to the ashram and the hierarchy also through the polarity of these natal nodes. And with that transiting, with that solar arc Jupiter activation, you see how powerful activation of this Jupiterian energy we have here of the second ray. All she needs to do is to utilize it consciously, to work with that through this crisis. Now, those of you who follow these webinars would remember that, you know, in January 1935 instruction, DK said to her that by May 1936, the sense of inner freedom will be so strong that she will consciously realize that the things which affect her personality and those which come from the lack of control of the personalities of those she comes into contact in her life will fail to exert any real power over her. Okay? So we're talking, you know, the crisis prior to the Vesak May full moon in 1936. Okay? So here, at that time, DK was preparing her for the spiritual opportunity which would be created by this May full moon in 1936, where she would be able to make a conscious progress and conscious recognition. And in that webinar, we discussed the 3-year Vesak cycle in some details, okay, which I'm not going to go into it now. I am only bringing up the major point of it, that, as you know, this rhythm of a 3-year cycle was set up by the new group of World Service. And it is conditioned or based on the Vesak. In this case, the 3-year cycle we're talking about is from 1934 to the 1936, okay, where it is reaching its peak. And this 3-year cycle is conditioned by one of the 3 rays of aspects. In this case, the 3rd year cycle from Vesak 1935 to Vesak 1936, we are concerned with here. And this cycle is conditioned by the first ray energies, and thus also strengthening the first ray focus in her garden. In the last webinar, you remember, which we discussed, the first ray focus. Okay? So this cycle of the first ray, culminating with the Vesak, should release her soul for service and liberate the light and love into outer expression by sounding the clear note of freedom from fear. which, as DK said, creates a glamour, and which is hiding the light of the soul for her. Now, we see that the Uranus, with its first ray focus, is related to release, liberation, freedom, detachment, sacrifice, burning ground. These are all the seed thoughts DK asked her to take in her meditation. Okay? They are actually very advanced seed thoughts. Okay? A burning ground, you see, is found prior to each initiation. And these seed thoughts are indicating that together with Saturn return and the peaking of the 3-year Vesak cycle, if she was ready, she could have taken the second initiation at the Vesak in May. Very powerful energies she has, if she would be able to consciously utilize them. She could even start to move towards the third initiation, but unfortunately she was not ready to do so, because these seed thoughts, are really leading to the third degree even. Okay? And DK told her that cultivation of harmlessness would be the guarantee of constructive outcome of her crisis. You see, the harmlessness, to my understanding, is a state of mind held steady in the light, directed by right motive and intention to produce only good result, through obviously utilizing all the energies available, which she had. This requires, obviously, controlled astral body, free from emotional reaction. And this brings increased ability to think clearly. Okay? To think clearly. Look at her suspicion glamour there. And practice divine indifference. To stand steady as an observer, like he was telling her in the last instruction, and function as a soul. And this is achieved only by development of detachment, her major keyword, D, okay, and discrimination. And she lacked both. She lacked discrimination and she lacked detachment or dispassion. Okay? That's why I said, she could not utilize all these available energies, to achieve the second initiation there, which usually happen at the second Saturn return. Okay? One of the conditioning factors of harmlessness is also subjective freedom from fear. Okay? And this freedom she needed to develop. That's why the moon, the critical moon, with a test of fear in that Scorpio. Okay? As a major source of glamour. If harmlessness was the keynote of her life, she could produce a right harmonious condition to her personality and controlled solar plexus. You see, the conditioning energies of the Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces triangle and moon veiling Neptune. With that Neptune Pluto midpoint at 12 Taurus 20, it indicates absence of mental perception, which creates a blindness of passive receptivity, opening a door to that delusion. A wrong impression or hallucination. And the form of harmlessness would come through the power of mental identification with, of fully understanding the person under suspicion. And her lack of discriminative mind and inferiority complex left the door wide open to delusions of the astral plane. In 1936, we're coming now to see the exact time of the Wesak full moon, to see what kind of energies would be present. Excuse me. So could you put up the wheel on a 6th May 1936, and the time 9:02 a.m. And we see that the Wesak is falling in 15 Scorpio 53. Okay. And it is forming T-square with the natal Uranus. You see that Uranus, the importance of it? Now we see it at the Wesak, how important this planet is with a liberating energy. Okay? And you see where this Wesak full moon is falling across the 5th and 11th houses. Okay? Where we find that moon there, where we find the progress mid-heaven there, and all the alignment between Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, which we looked before. And on that Uranus at 15 degree Leo 54, we find a very important midpoint with that Uranus of Mars Neptune at 15 Taurus 52. And where it is falling? On the Wesak full moon. Okay? And Mars Neptune are the two 6-ray planets related to glamour. Okay? So the Uranus is there on this midpoint to find the control or the release from this glamour. And the Wesak, it activates that. All she needs to do is to utilize the great spiritual opportunity with culminating Wesak full moon in May. On the day of the full moon, the transiting nodes are exactly, you see the exactness of those nodes? Exactly over the degree of ascendant-descendant axis. Okay? At 4 degree 25. Now that is something to be noted, that the rectification of this chart is pretty good, isn't it? Now the transiting ascendant at the Wesak where is it?
17 Cancer.
Yes. Over the solar arc? Not exactly. Are we in the same page here?
6 May 1936.
Yes.
9:02 a.m.
Transiting ascendant.
Transiting ascendant should move fairly quickly.
Yes. Well, it should be, well, maybe I got it a little bit not pretty correct here with my chart. Because I have it going over the solar arc Pluto at 20 Cancer. Okay.
It's pretty darn close.
Yes. The transiting MC, we check that, at 4 Aries. Oh, there is something wrong.
I still have it in Pisces, but
Yes.
again, those would move fairly quickly, so. Get me.
Okay, I leave that because I think I have taken this for a different day, different date. Okay, so transiting MC. What degree is that? I'm not going into it because we have no time. Okay, we look at the progressed sun at 19 Gemini 7. Okay, is in aspect to the progressed ascendant at 1906 within 1 minute of arc. Okay. And the transiting Saturn at 19 Pisces 52 activates the very important natal Uranus midpoint. If you remember, we calculated and used it once at 4 Cancer 08 by semi-square. Okay, which is aligning with the transiting nodal axis at this Wesak full moon, because the Uranus-Pluto midpoint is carrying a powerful first ray, which is conditioning this third-year Wesak cycle, peaking at the 1936 Wesak. So it is very important midpoint to consider. Okay. Now, DK is telling her that the past 6 months, from July 1935 to January 1936, marked an interlude of fluctuation without any soul progress, due to her giving more to the external influence as a personality and less as a soul on the inner planes. You remember he was telling her that in the instruction, that these interludes are inevitable, but we need to recognize them and must not continue for too long. Okay? Now, there are different categories of interludes, and there is one category where the life comes under shorter cycles of months of strenuous endeavor, followed by months and months of apparent lack of effort. So this 6 months interlude would fall in this category, okay? Because there are different cycles of interludes which last even years, okay? Now, interlude is conditioned by Libra and the 7th ray. And the fluctuation is conditioned primarily by the moon, which, as we see, is a very important planet for this disciple, ruling her Cancer ascendant and Cancer decanate of the Pisces midheaven, and is also the esoteric ruler of her Virgo I see there, where we see the transiting Neptune going, okay? So, BL, would you please put up the wheel for 15 July 1935? And we see the alignment of the moons there, right, in the 7th house, transiting solar arc and the progressed. Okay? Now moon, fluctuation, in the 7th house, Libra, conditioning the interlude. In the sign of Capricorn, which is also ruling the 7th house, and one of the rays transmitted through Capricorn is the 7th ray. So the fluctuation of this period, indicated by the moon, is leading us again to the 7th house. Okay? This indicates the probable reason, you see, behind the interludes, where relationships with other people and with her children, moon, 5th house, and 5th house is ruled by Libra, okay? And also the transiting north node, and nodes also are related to all kinds of contacts and relationship, is going through the 7th house. So you see the primary reason behind her crisis and even the interlude and the fluctuation, okay, nothing was stabilized there, nothing was resolved, okay? And now if you bring the time to 11 p.m., I hope I got it right this again, not mixing up things. Okay? Because what I want you to see, that we have a total lunar eclipse in the 7th house at 22 Capricorn 44. Now, you know, if it's not any better confirmation, this is it, of the importance of that 7th house. Okay? Bringing some unfinished relationship issues from the past, lunar eclipse. And together with the transiting nodes sets the focal point for the 6 months interlude. You see? Past 6 months, from July 1935, okay, until January 1936. Okay? Because the lunar eclipse always brings something from the past, or something related to the form or lower aspects which need to be corrected. Okay? In this case, it's her unfinished relationships from the past. This could be this life or other lives, most probably. Okay? And the presence of the transiting Earth through the lunar eclipse there, and the natal Earth in Libra in the 5th house are linked by square to each other. 21 Earth in the 5th house and 22 the lunar eclipse there. You see? Actually, if we take that moon with the lunar eclipse in the 7th house with the Earth in the 5th, it's like another lunar eclipse in relation to the 5th house issue, that's relating the 5th house with the 7th house. Okay? Now the Earth is the esoteric ruler of Sagittarius, right? Where actually we have the progressed Sun-Earth axis happening. Okay? And Saturn, the ruler of the Capricorn 7th house, and having a strong link also to the sign Libra through its exaltation there, is found in the 9th house. We see the 3 Saturns there in the 9th house, natal, progressed and transiting, which is the Sagittarius house. Okay? And Sagittarius transmits the 6th ray. The powerful 6th ray energies appearing from different perspectives. We're looking at it. And the transiting Neptune through Virgo at the IC, where Moon is the esoteric ruler veiling Neptune, also indicates unstable foundation or home situation. Cancer Moon, you see, it's a Cancer Moon. And from one point of interpretation, you see, it indicates unstable condition also there. But also from the highest soul perspective, you see, it indicates a building of a relationship or contact, not only with the master, but with the ashram, in relation to the hierarchy, the axis opposite, MCIC, okay? And the transiting Neptune, you see, what degree is it? 12 degree, 31 or whatever, I don't see it here.
Yes, 1231.
It is sextile the natal moon in 12 degree Scorpio in that 5th house. We're coming back to the same energies here, and this is telling us, you know, the importance of the focal points and the conditioning her crisis. Okay? Now, the transiting mass with the 6th ray energy through it, it's in 22 Libra. Right?
Yeah, sort of. I've got 2301.
Yes, well, we have these little differences, yes, through
Right.
maybe a different, some kind of programs, whatever. That is not, that's close enough. It is going through the 5th house, right?
Yes.
And it is the ruler of Scorpio, where the moon is, okay? And also it is the ruler of Aries, where it is her sun sign. Her sun is in Aries, right? And is activating the natal Sun-Earth, right? From Aries to Libra at a 21 point degree of some minutes there, okay? And making a T-square with the transiting nodal axis at 22 Cancer Capricorn. Through which houses again? 7 and 1st. Okay? Right. Now, could you bring the wheel to the 8th of August? Well, I don't know if I want to go through moving this. I will just tell you that on the 8th of August 1935, the progressed and solar arc moon reached an exact conjunction in the 9 Capricorn, 41, in that 7th house. Okay? These two moons. Okay? And in September, October 1935, the transiting Uranus with its 7-ray energy was activating the progressed Neptune and natal Venus-Saturn square rulers of the Libra 5th house, where Venus is the ruler and Uranus. Okay? And Saturn is the ruler of the 7th house. So again, another relationship, emphasis between the 7th and 5th houses. Okay? Now, as you remember, in the instruction, we were reading that DK is telling her that now the sun is again moving northward, and there comes for her renewed opportunity and the possibility of a powerful period of release from her lower nature or personality, which has such a strong hold over her. Now, again, those of you who are the regular participator on these webinars, you remember we have in previous webinars discussed in great details the symbology of the North. The North Pole and the mountain Meru, and the 2 pointers Merak and Dube pointing to the north, and its relation to the midheaven as the highest point in the chart, and to Capricorn as its archetypal energy. Because when the sun is moving north, it is going through Capricorn. Okay? And this instruction is given in January, where the sun is moving through Capricorn. Okay? To many of his disciples, DK said, okay, about this sun moving northward, because it presents a great spiritual opportunity, which he wanted them to utilize. And it is every January, okay?
Elena, do you want me to move the quad wheel back to 26 January?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
No. So whenever the sun enters Capricorn, which is the sign of initiation, by the way, it starts to move northward towards the highest point of achievement and brings a spiritual opportunity represented by Saturn, ruler of Capricorn, to utilize the available energy to progress upon the path and shift the consciousness to a higher level, and thus endeavor to work consciously upon that which holding us back from the initiation in front of us. Like for this disciple, the initiation she was moving to was the second initiation. So now you can bring the quadra wheel for 22nd December 1935. At 1 p.m. Because we're going to look at the ingress or entry of the sun into Capricorn. Okay? Which you see there, 0000 even. You have it all in zeros, yes. Good. And it's falling within 2 minutes of arc. You see near the ascendant is solar arc Neptune at 29 Gemini 58. Okay, so it is the closest planet directly on the axis of this ingress of the sun. Okay, and you know Neptune is the most important planet for this disciple, astrologically speaking, is the ruler of the Cancer, esoteric ruler of the Cancer ascendant. Okay, it is the ruler of her IC-MC axis. Okay, it is basically conditioning the most important energies, areas of her chart. Okay, that's why I am bringing this importance here, that it is the Neptune here which is contacted by this ingress. Okay, at this ingress we see also important conjunction between the transiting ascendant, hopefully we get it right this time here, the transiting ascendant and Uranus in 1 degree Taurus. Oh, do you have it at 1 degree?
No, I've got the ascendant at 24 Aries, but
wow,
again,
I don't.
It's close. I mean, you know that moves very quickly.
Yes, I know, but I have it in my chart exactly. That's why I can't understand. We need to sort this out, between us. But this is why I am bringing this up. You see, because it brings again the importance of that Uranus with its liberating, releasing energies. Okay, a major planet of change and etheric. It deals also the etheric field, the ethers, the etheric body. Okay, because that's where the major changes start to happen before they manifest in the physical body, really. Because this is the soul energy which conditions the centers in the etheric, which is the energy changing the physical plane happenings or conditioning it, okay, from the soul level, that is. Now, let's see the transiting MC. Where do you have it?
14 Capricorn.
Well, would you believe it? I have it 18 Capricorn in the 7th house. Well, at least you have it in the 7th house, because that is, you know, it's going over that progress moon at least there for you. Okay. I am not going into great details here about it, but what I am going to bring, you see, this is the importance of that 18-degree Capricorn, because it is contacting the progressed ascendant in 18-degree Leo. Okay? You see why I was asking you about that pointer Merak, who happens to be also at 18-degree Leo at this ingress of the sun. Okay? And why the important point here of the Merak is because it is the star of the Great Bear, pointing to the north, you see, and is related to Aries, where she has her sun, and to Vulcan, which most probably she has also in Aries, okay? And thus bringing it into focus powerful first ray energy here. Aries, first ray transmitted through Aries, Vulcan, first ray energy, Great Bear, okay, itself carrying a powerful first ray energy. And this is strengthening the culminating 30-year Wesak 1936 condition by the first ray, okay? And what I was going to mention also, that her sun in Aries at 21 Aries there, you see, making a trine to the natal and progressed Uranus in Leo. Okay? Not in exact, this is not exact orbs here, but they are close enough because the moon is also squaring natally that Uranus. You see, these are very important aspects from the Uranus to the moon and the sun. And so this ingress is also at the day of the ingress. This is activated here. Okay? So during the December 1935, the transiting sun also crosses as we go further, but I don't want you to move the wheel because it's very time consuming. It is obviously, as it's transiting, it would go over the ascendant-descendant axis, okay, and enters the 7th house, right? And this is the importance of the whole thing here again. Where on the 1st of January 1936, it will conjunct the solar arc moon, okay, in 10 Capricorn, and then a progressed moon in 14 Capricorn on the 5th January, and like it was creating two new moons there. You see, sun and moon, sun and moon, sun and moon in the 7th house. Okay? And on the 5th of January, yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's to, you know, that transiting sun to those two moons in the 7th house. And this is the indication of a beginning or commencement of a process towards the utilization of the soul's strenuous effort to bring large measure of liberation, okay? And to profit by the spiritual inflow from the full moon, because you see, like the Merak and the Vesak cycle, and the point of north of Meru, which is represented by the MC, towards which the transiting Saturn is moving, are all very significant energies coming together. Okay? Because you see, we are now on the last month of 1935. Okay? But as we are going to the 1936, you see that Saturn is going to go over that MC. Okay? And you see the north point is the highest point in the chart, which, as I said, we discussed, in the previous webinars. We are told that all the gods came from the north. Okay? And in the Puranas, in secret doctrine, we are told that there is reference to the north of Meru, where once in the North Polar region, where once was a continent. Okay, it holds. Meru is considered the mountains of God, and the occult teaching place it in the very center of the North Pole. Okay, as the first side of the first continent on our planet Earth. Okay? So it is considered the land of bliss. You know the word bliss? We have a happiness, joy, and bliss. This is the highest aspect of that. Okay? Again, the golden mountain, the golden, it's always higher spiritual energy. The jewel peak, the lotus mountains, it is the egoic lotus emphasizing the highest aspect of that egoic lotus of the soul, which is the jewel. Okay? So into these energies, we can't go, but I'm only sort of presenting these ideas to you to take it, into consideration. And, and Meru is also representing the etheric spinal cord with the three channels there, Sushumna, Ida, and Pingala. There is a number of relationship here which we could follow and which we did. And those of you who are interested, go back to those webinars where we have actually discussed this in great details. And that's why I brought that Merak here, because in 1936, it has moved to 18 degree, I think 32 or something, Leo, right, Biel?
Yes, I don't have the exact degree, but I can look it up if you want me to.
No, we don't need the exact degree. This is
it's
close
18
enough.
Leo.
Yeah, yes, okay. And because it's falling on ascendant, progressing ascendant in Leo, this is significant here, okay? And it is the Sagittarian decade, I must say, which we have already mentioned when we have the Sagittarian Gemini progressed Sun going through the 6 and 12 houses, and we have the 3 Saturns in the house of Sagittarian energy, which is the archetypal Sagittarian house, okay? So this is all significant, and because the pointers, we have 2 pointers, Dubhe and Merak, but the Merak is carrying a higher energy. It's going for this disciple towards the soul, level of the soul on its own plane with the highest point, you see. So that MC with its energies for this disciple, which we have discussed in details, together with these pointers. and the MC representing the north, you see. And this is standing here also behind when the sun is moving northward, which is every January, we are moving towards what is for us the highest point in this particular incarnation. And we need to establish that, because everything has to be related in relation to our level of consciousness and where we're standing upon the path, to the initiatory process. Okay? And then all these energies are interpreted to that level. Okay? So each of us can utilize this information, okay, for our own processes and astrological energies. And we get a deeper insight, okay, into what actually, you know, we should be doing and working consciously upon. Because many opportunities can pass us by if we are not conscious of them. Okay? So, and Saturn is the planet of spiritual opportunities and crises. And only through crises we progress. Okay? These are the tests of discipleship we're talking about. Okay. Now I have come to the end of selecting, you know, some of the major important points of this instruction for January 1936. And when we meet again, we will start with a new instruction, which is for June 1936. Okay, so you are recommended to, you know, sort of read that instruction in the meantime and ponder on it, and you know, to come to your own understanding what, you know, it means to you and how you can utilize it for yourself. So thank you for your attention. And if there are any comments or questions.
I don't see any so far. As usual, we're all just awestruck.
Yes. Even if we muddled a little bit the degrees here of the wheel, but you know, we have the major focal points, right?
Yes.
Yes. And that's what is important.
Okay, still no. Here we go. Well, it won't let me work on him, so let me try over here. Okay, I cannot unmute you, Jeff. Brett, are you
I
there?
am unmuted. How's that?
You are unmuted now. Thank you. Go ahead. You still look mute
You
to
can
me.
hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Oh, that's good, Elena, because I do have some sound problems here. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you because it's very insightful, and I mean, there's a very complex arrangement that we're looking at in terms of this
Yes.
chart.
Yes.
And you know, there's just so many points that you're bringing to light. You know, it's overwhelming to some degree. But it's such a fascinating instruction related to the astrology that's being presented, and also some insights into the dilemma that the soul is facing in terms of this particular personality and the struggle that's been going on perhaps for a number of incarnations.
Yes.
To this particular crisis point at this period of her Saturn return. So I mean, would we say that this is a crisis of to be surmounted from a series of lives
Yes.
related to her sixth ray dilemma of glamours?
Yes. And she would have to deal with it even the next life. Just imagine 5 lives dealing with the powerful sixth ray force here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't it incredible too that even though the soul has manipulated this series of circumstances, and yet she is still unable to make the breakthrough, the necessary breakthrough, such as the grip of the glamour?
Yes, and her blindness to it. You see, there is like she had a veil over her eyes here, where not much is penetrating consciously to her. That's why, she depreciates her capabilities, which are very powerful on the level of the soul, you see. But she is not able even to recognize that. That's why he is continuously encouraging her. And she lacks this courage of the soul, which is the sure knowledge, you see, of the soul. And that's what she needs to develop, That is one of her keywords of development formula there. It is really amazing, that when we read in the books about these various stages of discipleship, and DK sometimes say, well, if you are anxious or whatever, you can go through these 2 lives, right? Something of that kind. And here we are having 5 lives, okay? And what is telling us? That everything is very individual, okay?
Yes.
And it entirely depends on the disciple and the presented problems and handling it, okay? And here we have a disciple under instruction of a master, okay? What about us, which we are struggling with our own perception of things, okay? And that is, this is a good example. These disciples really, to recognize how much we can learn, ourselves from this, instruction where we have a race given by the master. They are 100% correct. And DK is a very good astrologer. He knew we would be looking at this also with astrology. Okay? Yes. That's why he is selecting particular keywords which are leading us, to these astrological energies. I mean, this is exceptional chart, where so many points coming together at the same time and day, you see. But it needs, also to have the rectified chart for that, okay?
Well, I've found that of real benefit too, that you are able to track that through those particular festivals, as the example in the Wessex Festival.
Yes.
And that he was instructing or training all of those disciples to come into to synchronize with those festivals.
Yes, because you see he's talking, generally this 1936 particular peaking cycle, the 3-year cycle, in relation to the New Group World Service, was affecting the whole humanity hierarchy, okay, and disciples individually, how they responded to that, like this disciple, you see. So it was a major planetary influence, this Wesak, you see. And, utilization of those energies presented to each individually, and then the group process, obviously, because it's a new group of world service cycles we're talking about. You see, like the 11th house in this chart is very powerfully emphasized, where we find the group process, okay, where the progressed midheaven is moving through it at the moment. And all the alignments, even the Uranus transit through there. You see, the very important planet for her, finding freedom and release from all the form which was holding her back. Okay? So, it is really worthwhile for all of us to look at this, because we learn so much about ourselves, if we apply the principal ideas of this, like the cycles here of the Vesak, 3-year Vesak cycle, which, as I said, we discussed in great details with the pointers, then the 3 channels in the spine in relation to the entering of the stream of the second initiation and all that. I'm just, sort of bringing these points for those people who are new to these webinars, okay? Because it is, very difficult to understand what is being presented, for example, here, which is a very difficult topic, okay? If one is disconnected from the previous webinars where all this was discussed, in greater details, okay? Yeah. So that's why it is also good to follow, if one really is interested, whole webinar, all webinars, because they are connecting and going from instruction to instruction, So.
Well, he did not just have the job of synchronizing her, but then, of course, there are the others.
Yes.
It's a whole group procedure.
Yes.
Which we're, I suppose, in our own way, attempting.
Yes, we are. And particular working in a group work, a service work, you see, because this is a major, a new idea. A group initiation is is all related to that, you see, because as individuals we are automatically affecting the group. Okay, so, and he emphasized that, how many were holding the group, how many he asked to leave, and how many left because they didn't like to hear what he was telling about the problems of faults in front of the group. You see the personality reactions, threw them out of the group. But they were kept, on inner levels connected, to his ashram. So.
Thank you, Lena.
You're welcome, Jeff. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, there's a thank you from Named Key. And I don't see any other questions or comments. So,
okay.
Thank you,
well,
Elena.
It's too much to digest at this moment, so it needs to be a little bit pondered upon. I understand. Thank you, everybody, for your patience and participation.
And remember, the next one is going to be the end of July, the 29th of July. So we hope to see you there. Good night, good day, good morning, everyone.
Thank you, BL and Brett, for support.
Yes, thank you both, Brett and Joe, especially since I couldn't.
And Joe, I didn't know Joe was here.
Yes.
Joe, thank you.
Yeah, and she took care of Jeff since I couldn't unmute him. So, okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye now.
Bye-bye, Joe.